Hello and welcome to International Affairs, broadcasting live from the Dhaka's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Pantho. As I bring the most important news articles from around the world, of course, before I begin the discussion, I want to introduce all my panelists. In the studio, we have Mr. Ali Ahmed, who is, of course, an economist and also a member customs of the National Board of Revenue. Alongside on Zoom, we have Norman Floyd Barnes, joining us from Washington, D.C. I believe the backdrop of Norman Floyd Barnes explains a lot, as I know there has been 6 deaths reported giving the receiving of the winter storm in eastern and southern America. While we have other news stories which include the Syrian army stating that the YPF and the SDF terror organization launched more than 25 suicide drones attacks in the recent breach of a newly extended ceasefire. A private jet carrying 8 people crashing in the U.S. state of Maine, and a ferry with more than 300 passengers sinking off the Basilan province of the southern Philippines. All of this leaving multiple people dead. I want to begin with Norman Floyd Barnes. I want a description of the winter storm that is brewing in the United States. What are the casualties? And I believe that is leaving a lot of people without power. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Greetings. Good morning. Today we are trying to dig out from the storm over the weekend, which encompassed uh, 25, 2,500 miles of snow. It ranged from the state of New Mexico all the way up to Boston. Here in Washington, we was also inundated with the snow and ice, and now we're attending with the sub-zero temperatures that is scheduled. Actually, is that will continue through the rest of the week. So we have a lot of snow. We have a lot of freezing rain on top of the snow, and the cold weather will allow the snow to stay. So everything that fell on the ground will remain here for the rest of the week with the cold, frigid temperatures. There's some over almost 200,000 people without electricity here in the United States as these freezing temperatures continue, and over 15,000 flights was canceled yesterday. And hopefully today we can start digging out and getting back into the normal flow. But it's very cold here. It's very cold here in Washington and on the East Coast.
Of course, that's a very good update of the geographical systems that is taking place in America. But I want to ask about Minnesota. And of course, the Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz has said and demanded that for Donald Trump to pull out untrained federal immigration agents out of the state after this fatal shooting of a second Alex Pretty, who was a nurse and who did not seem to aggravate the situation on the videos that went viral amongst social media users. But I want to ask Norman Floyd this question. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Defense in that Homeland Security, she has said that this is ICE carrying out their regular operations, but this is also the state where the historic George Floyd matter had taken place, and of course Black Lives Matter, the entire movement had started from this very city. I want to understand what is the future for Minnesota, and this would be the first time where the people did not meet eye to eye with the federal government. I want your analysis before I can come back to the studio. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, good morning. Ironically, this is not the first time the state of Minnesota has problems with the United States government. We can we can predate this. We can go back in 1930s, prior to the American Second War. We was having issues with political problems stemming from the political beliefs from certain people out of Minnesota. So it's ironic we are now going back to what we used to do regarding how people feel about certain groups of people, how we feel about certain religions, how we feel about the government, and how we dealt with that. So it appears like that we are now repeating that history, and Minnesota's right now is a boiling point. We have issues now going on with the Congress. Congress is now very concerned about the budget. We have a federal budget that needs to be agreed to by this Friday. certain members of the Senate is talking about and very serious about delaying and not voting for the budget of the United States, which means we'll have to go into another shutdown, which means people will be furloughed and funding will be held up. Uh, the Department of Homeland Security has a budget, particularly dealing with ISIS, has a budget larger than the FBI right now. A new, uh, I guess, agency that the president is utilizing for this immigration of funding and immigration attack has more funding than the FBI. And so people are very concerned. The government are very concerned about the use of this militarized agency to impose this hardship on the American people in the face of using immigration as a campaign. So we are looking for very serious conversations and very concerned about the action when we're moving forward. So right now, the overall American people want ISIS to move out of Minnesota, and actually they want them to stop the program of this immigration campaign put on by the president across the nation. So we're looking at a very serious time here. I fear there will be more incidents happening as a result of this continued campaign by ISIS, the local police, the state police, and it looks like all the law enforcement agencies are not seeing eye to eye with this mission, and this is going to cause a lot of problems and additional deaths is going to happen because of this conflict. And I don't understand how we're going to get over this. There was also a conversation I'm going to bring up about going into Philadelphia. Well, Philadelphia is a different place than Minnesota, and the results will be totally different if that should happen. So we're standing by this week and see exactly where it is going, but it doesn't appear that the Trump administration is not going to change their plans. They have a mission, and the United States is dealing with that at the local, the state, and the congressional level.
Of course, very, very important updates regarding Minnesota from Norman Flood Barnes. I want to focus in the studio with Mr. Ali Ahmed. You were hearing Norman Flood Barnes on his analysis regarding Minnesota. Of course, Helen Good was the first victim out of this situation of ICE shooting. And at the edge of 26 days, we see another shooting of a very 37-year-old Alex Pretty, who was used to be a nurse. And even yesterday, he was reading out the last rites of someone who has passed away. He used to work at an old home, caregiving for the elderly people. But my question is, on a photo that I've seen yesterday on a wall inside Minnesota, it says, "Ayatollah, help us." It has severe consequences. As this very month, we've seen protests in Iran where Donald Trump tried to help the protesters.
Yeah.
And in a reciprocal, we see this time a wall in Minnesota says, "Ayatollah, help us," in the situation in America. I want to understand how you felt about it, given that protests are very rampant and it is affecting common Americans.
Yes, this protest is very interesting. Those who sought help from Ayatollah of Iran know very well that they cannot and will not come. But this is a sort of reciprocity, as you have said, against what Trump did during his Ayatollah's problems in Iran. He said, keep the fighting, the help is on way, etc., etc. That is absolutely unprovoked and illegal, interfering in others' internal affairs. So people here, someone who don't know who it is, they were invoking help from Ayatollah. This is a reciprocity by the people of Minnesota, and it is in response to, as I have said, Donald Trump. This is of course not the reality, but Donald Trump has been doing his worst than many other cases. When I see this, I remember some of our own in Bangladesh, the Danish Pakistan. These sort of things happened, and police opened fire, people died, and all these things. So has America turned into the 50s or 60s Bangladesh? Is it the condition of America? Donald Trump is leading the country down the drain. Of course, this is not for us to say. It is the Americans who will decide. But this is a very bad omen. Now, the governor has asked the president to withdraw his forces because they are killing one after another, and this killing is normally not permitted unless they are attacked seriously, and no proof has been given yet that the people killed were attacking them.
Right.
So that is it.
But yes, I want to also add on here that it's not just issues inside the state of Minneapolis or Minnesota, but this kind of incidences are very common. And given this very month, Donald Trump has unleashed a rhetoric regarding Iran, has unleashed a rhetoric regarding Venezuela, the capture of Nicolas Maduro was on the track. And an important question regarding the Middle East, I want to come to Norman Floyd Barnes. The U.S. carrier Armada has moved in to the Middle East, which signals a very dastardly time for Iran in the coming days. But an expected movement can be expected because we see that, of course, this Armada carrier is under orders and there is something planned which we are still waiting to see by the U.S. military. I want to have a question for Norman Floyd Barnes. Given the situation, the Insurrection Act could be used upon Minnesota as well, but the positioning of a flight carrier or aircraft carrier inside the Middle East signals a time of war that is approaching us. But the rhetorics went down regarding Iran even as last week. But this week, with the movement of the USS Armada, we've seen that tensions are once back up. The death toll that major outlets in the US had reported was 5,000 protesters killed. I want to understand the Middle East. I want to understand the Iran posturing and, of course, the US-Israel alliance regarding Iran. More from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, thank you for that question. The information has accelerated. The rhetoric has increased. That number of reported deaths is now, through some sources, I haven't verified yet, but some sources saying that the number has reached up to 31,000. That's a very extreme number. One source has stated that is reached that high and maybe higher. These are planned executions by the regime currently in place in Iran, and the United States is preparing a massive response to that with the staging of the military resources and the coordination with Israel and other actors in that region. So right now, something is being planned. The response to that, I don't know. We have issues here in the United States which will affect that. Congress is like I said, talking about how to close the budget, how to deal with these issues going on with immigration, and basically the funding for how we're going to deal with Venezuela, Greenland, and now Iran. So again, this hot mess is now becoming a volcano. We are having issues. And midterms, they're still talking about midterms coming up. So we are in for a very unstable time ahead.
Thank you, Norman Floyd Barnes. Regarding the Iran issue, of course, these are very unstable times. At the edge of 26 days, we see the entire global world order taking a drift. We've seen how Mark Carney had visited China and later had his talk at the Davos summit in Switzerland, and was important because he had mentioned that the world is moving away from a globalized world order, but it's moving away to a stricter economic order in which economic weapons could be used or economic standing could be used as weapons. Of course, he was talking about Donald Trump, but he made sure of one thing: he did not mention once Donald Trump's name. And that is important when it comes to geopolitics. I want to have this following question with Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio. Mark Carney of Canada.
Yeah, I know.
And immediately Donald Trump imposing a 100% tariff.
I'm coming to Mark Carney, but before that, many of us might not have noticed that USA has just released the national defense policy. The defense policy is it's very interesting, Since the founding of the rules-based world order 80 years back after the Second World War,
Yes.
America has been leading this us. This time, for the first time, there is written decision that USA will concentrate on Western hemisphere only. And they said the other allies in Europe, they will be given some attention, some help, but they have to increase their own attention and do all these things. In effect and in writing, saying that America, USA is detaching itself from the rest of the world. They did not even mention China or Japan. They talk of Western Hemisphere. So it seems they are in writing declaring their detachment from Europe and even Asia. Even China they did not mention much.
Right.
Although China is their greatest rival in their opinion and also in effect. So this new defense strategy of USA goes to the periodic US stance like isolationism. So they are going to a new isolationism in writing. In fact, Donald Trump has been practicing this from the very beginning, but he has now declared it, that they will be looking more after America and not on Europe, who has been asked to look after themselves. And Asia did not make any mention of it, although Asia is very pivotal. Because China is there, Japan is there for two different reasons. Japan probably is going to be, in fact, trying to be independent, even for nuclear bombs. They said they will go for nuclear bomb immediately, and in a year or so, or year and a half, they will have their own atomic energy. So things are having tectonic shifts in this defense strategy. Time for us to think of, and at the same time, but very interestingly, he has retained his concern about the occupation or snatching away of Greenland.
Right.
That is there. That is not in his hemisphere, but they are going for it.
Very important analysis. Coming back to what I was saying, I would want to ask this to Norman Floyd Barnes before I head for a break. But as you were hearing Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio, how Mark Carney had delivered.
Carney, I could come.
I will definitely come back to you regarding this, but I want to ask Norman, what is the composure Mark Carney holds, talking about Donald Trump without even mentioning his name, and of course visiting China, a rival of the United States, or the contender who is now trying to look like the universal world power after the United States. I want to understand the Canada-US friendship with Norman Floyd Barnes before I can come back to the studio.
Yes, thank you. We have a very neighborhood situation where our Canadian friends, our Canadians, countrymen, is in the leaders are trying to figure out exactly how they want to position themselves. The U.S. position is that Canada needs us. Canada's response is that we are Canadians and we will do what Canadians need to do. And that means we will work and talk and do business with anyone and everyone we want to. So we do not depend and we're not part of the United States, and we're not one of your colonies, and we will prevail in spite of you. So that is the
Right.
position we have right now with Canada. Canada is now flexing their identity and basically who they are. And they said, well, we're going to do trade, we're going to do commerce, we're going to do business with the rest of the world. We are not your servant, and we're not part of the United States. We gladly be partners to you like everyone else, but you do not tell us what to do. So that's what we have right now. We have a back and forth exactly who is control, who's the mother, who's the father, that type of situation going on. And but we still are neighbors. We're still going to do business. The people are still going to come back and forth. That relationship is not going to go away. We just have two leaders right now who are trying to position themselves exactly who they are and trying to act as I call peacocks. Thank
course,
you.
important observation. I want a last comment before I can go to a break with Mr. Ali Ahmed. You know how Norman was saying Canada is exerting its sovereignty on all fronts and shall do business with anyone that is supportive of the Canadian government.
You see, this is an independent and sovereign country. They have, among other things, the right to do business with whoever they like to. But the French, the Canadian and US history is very interesting. As you know, Canada was a British colony,
Right.
as was UK, the 13 states, but they later occupied and purchased and made USA so big. They also want to occupy now other
Right.
country, other places. The problem is, even after in the modern times, in 1812 to 15, 1850, 12 to 15, these 3 years, British still is the head of the government. The crown, British crown is the head of the state.
Right.
So Britain literally fought 3 wars with US over Canadian occupation. Finally, it ended in stalemate. Canada has remained as it is. It is as early as 1812 to 15. And then in 1912-15, there was another, not a few clashes, small clashes with Britain and Canada, USA. So USA is very greedy.
Right.
Not only Greenland, it's not a new manifestation of the greed. It happened here. They fought Spaniards to get what is now called New Mexico.
Right.
So they have fought it out and then purchased Louisiana from French.
Right.
And purchased Alaska from the Russians. And now they want to purchase or occupy by force Greenland and other places. So this is natural with the Americans. They are a very imperialistic nations. But Canada has a right, literally and legally and in every way, to have a pact with whichever country they can.
Of course, a very important
US
question.
is nobody to say no. It is not a colony of the US, had never been a colony of the US.
Of course, all of these decision making does put a very strain on the 50 states that make the United States of America. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short commercial break, but after the break, we shall talk about various issues pertaining to the global order. Do stay tuned as we head for a commercial break.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900।
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to International Affairs. Today I'm joined with Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio while we have Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. I want to focus on an aspect that has grasped the world for the last 4 years. Of course, I'm talking about the Russia-Ukraine war. The reporting regarding this war has gone down in the last 26 days of this year, but I will give you some of the updates. More than 1,300 apartment buildings in the Ukrainian capital are left without heating following Russia's missile and drone attacks last weekend. And over the past week alone, Russia launched more than 1,700 attack drones and at least 1,300 guided aerial bombs, 69 missiles on Ukraine, mainly targeting the energy sector, critical infrastructure, residential buildings. Of course, all of this is according to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And the Ukrainian leader also told reporters to a visit in Lithuania that the continuing Russian attacks make it necessary for Ukraine to acquire more air defenses even while the country's negotiations a ceasefire with Moscow. Of course, these are very important updates, and I want to know more from Norman Floyd Barnes. We see that the entire world was caught up with Greenland, especially NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was busy understanding the sovereignty of Greenland, and in that process, people have forgotten that Ukraine-Russia war is still going on. 30% of the country's eastern flank has been captured by the Russian forces. Whether or not these lands will now belong to Russia, where is the internationally demarcated line or a new border? All of this is very important understanding the world geopolitics. I want an analysis of the very recent from Norman Floyd Barnes.
The talks this weekend in Abu Dhabi concluded, the two-day talks concluded without any type of significant announcements or conclusions. The war continues, this endless war continues in Ukraine. Just like here, winter is sitting in. The people are very tired, they're very disgusted, and they're very weak because of lack of energy, power, food sources, and these continued drone attacks. Psychologically, the people want a solution, they want peace. But our leaders, the government leaders in Ukraine and Russia, is hell-bent on continued this conquest until the bitter end. So right now we have no improvements, no response from the meetings this weekend, and the bombardment and the campaign continues.
Of course, this is important a time for Ukraine, because Ukraine is bleeding out, or at least I feel that it is running out of men, money, and of course a time. 4 years is a long time for a war between a nation like Russia and of course a nation like Ukraine, which can easily be pinned as the underdog in this fight.
Yes, of course.
So I want to understand what is the strategy and why have these strategies failed? I know that nations such as Spain and Italy have promised rebuilding Ukraine after this war has stopped, but it has not seen any kind of halting or any kind of ceasefire. And even Donald Trump could not make sure that an internationally mediated effort could be held for Ukraine.
Whether Donald Trump really wants it or not is also a question, because I have little faith in this gentleman. But anyway, that is another thing. The problem is the manpower shortage, the fodder for war. It's both these countries are in short supply, but Russia is getting it, as far as I know, it came on record. They are getting supplies of human beings from North Korea and also from Kenya. I saw a shipload came from Kenya to fight on the side. They are mercenaries fighting just for money, and some European countries are sending symbolic numbers of people to Ukraine, but it's not much. So shortage of warriors, battle ready soldiers are in both countries. But the problem is that the European countries themselves cannot solve it, and also the determination of both the sides seems very unbreakable. Russia is hell-bent on acquiring lands, if not the whole country, although the whole country is its target, but they want to acquire the eastern side. And Ukraine is also very determined not to let their country, any part of their country, be taken by others. So I am afraid this might drag on, may grind on for some time more, because America is now declaring that it will not do anything except selling, mind you, not giving gifts, selling some of their armaments and not the serious ones. And as you know, the European partners, they are helping, but nobody is sending personnel for the war. That is the problem.
Huge implications for the people who have supported Russia, or the nations who have supported Russia in this offensive towards Ukraine. And one of those nations do include the North Korea as a nation.
But Kenya's people came. Kenya as a state did not support.
The Kenyans
Mercenaries.
have also, Kenyan mercenaries have also joined this fight. But an interesting news comes out from North Korea. Its leader Kim Jong-un visited an art studio to guide the creation of sculptures to be displayed at a memorial for estimated 6,000 North Korean troops who died fighting for this very war. According to their state media KCNA, Pyongyang says that it deployed some 14,000 soldiers to fight alongside Russian troops in Ukraine, according to the Western sources. So it's not just a Russia-Ukraine war as a title, but it does have elements from allied countries such as North Korea. And to some extent, we also see those who have been those who have been trying to migrate into Europe. Some of them of very illegal means. Even they, out of Bangladesh, have been included in this war. We've seen on social media that they are participating in this Ukraine-Russia war. It is a very confusing time. Of course, in international politics, we understand that the U.S. position must be clearly defined. And at this moment, the Pentagon does not really realize or understand the importance of daily lives of the Ukrainians. They've been going through war for almost 4 years with numerous deaths, and the attacks seem to be continuing even while there is a winter wave that is capturing that hemisphere. Of course, it is above the equator line, and winter is supposed to be the terrain. But attacking energy infrastructure is, of course, another venue that has affected this war. I want to understand from Norman Flood Barnes during this war, and of course some of the meeting over the weekend in Abu Dhabi and the 20-point US plan. The problematic issues were being discussed, and of course there are some, but now there are fewer of these issues according to the media outlets. I want to understand what is your take, and how do you think that other players are involved in this war? We understand that between the two sides, Turkey had made sure of a prisoner swap agreement almost 2 times in a row when it was still 3.5 years of the war. I want to know more from Norman Floyd Barnes on the impact and the contributions of the other nations into this war.
Let me just add that war is big business. Particularly if one of the United States is stated to be one of the largest manufacturer of weapons. We have stockpiles, particularly here in the United States, with our weapons, military weapons, and believe it or not, these stockpile has to be rotated. So by dealing with conflicts and as being a transitional administration, these munitions are being sold, given, and provided to these conflicts, and that creates a situation where we have what we call an endless war, endless conflict. The situation in Ukraine and Russia is one of these things where the munitions are being given to NATO, European Union, and they are basically selling them and utilizing them for this situation in Ukraine. Same situation with Venezuela. These munitions that are being used are old stockpile information that has to be recycled, basically, is being recycled. So basically, the opportunity to utilize these things are being utilized in these conflicts. So I don't see that any peaceful period of time is going to be in our near future. There will be conflicts, and there will be supplies of these weapons and equipment. So the Ukraine situation is basically, I see that going on for a period of time until basically Russia decides we don't want to play ball anymore. We want to stop this. We want to end this. But right now, supplies are being provided to both sides to continue this conflict for the purpose of profit. What I call, we in a world of war of profit. Everything is now a transactional situation in the eyes of profit. So profit is driving a lot of this stuff. People is collateral damage. Whether all these things will come on, these are part of the things going on. But right now, this is basically a period of profit and basically transactional acquisition of land. That
Right.
is what's happening globally. Unfortunately, I hate to say it's led by the Western Hemisphere, led by the United States. So business is moving forward, even though there's a trade issue with war, oil, and all these things. But there are other ways of making money, and we're seeing that war is the biggest business
Of
around.
course, that is a very strong statement coming from Norman Floyd Burns. Due to time restrictions, I want to have another comment from Norman Floyd Burns, but this time it is regarding a breaking news coming out of Israel, which states that Israel is to reopen the Rafah crossing after the complete search for the body of the last remaining captive, which is, of course, a police officer named Ran Gavili. So this is the latest coming out of the Strip. I want to ask Norman Floyd Burns, of course, this Rafah crossing is important for the transfer of aid into the enclave. And this news coming out that the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had said after confirmation of the last body of the held captive, they will reopen the gate. How much is expected in this latest, I want to understand from Norman Floyd Burns.
We can expect nothing. This is very symbolic. It will go right back. Nothing. I don't see any type of historical, any type of change in mind. Nothing has indicated that this is going to. Yes, there will be an opening. That the opening will be very brief and it will close back up again, either by some manufactured incident or just they decide, well, we need to move forward. We need to move forward, and we don't believe in this. What's going on? So right now, it's up to a few people in Israel to determine how much, how far, and how long. And that's right now. It's up to the prime minister. And I don't see anything or any indication that he intend to keep this thing open indefinitely.
Of course, a very important comment made from Norman Floyd Burns, who asserted that it may open, but it may definitely close back down, hinting that the gruesomeness of the Israeli administration is very real. I want to come back into the studio with additional news regarding this matter. Illegal Israeli settlers assaulted a Palestinian child in the West Bank and attempted a ramming attack on a vehicle carrying several children in the latest wave of settler violence in the occupied territory. Meanwhile, 3 Palestinians were killed and 6 others injured in Israeli attacks in the Gaza Strip, marking a new violation of the October 10 ceasefire agreement. And of course, even after the ceasefire, we've seen 200 to 300 journalists be affected, if not injured, if not attacked by the IDF and the Israeli administration. I want your observation regarding Israel and the West Bank. Of course, we always talk about the Board of Peace, but that is a sham. I believe that this Board of Peace is something created to bring down the United Nations.
Yes. First of all, this Board of Peace comes because, as you have very rightly said, USA, the present USA with Donald Trump at its head, they do not sort of recognize UN. They do not want to go through UN.
And historically, Donald Trump is not in line with the UN principles and always says that UN has done nothing.
Yeah, always. And he says, he is on record to have said that that I do not follow, I do not know, and I do not respect international order, international rules. I have my own conscience. So
Right.
his own conscience, as he calls it, is the rule for the whole world, not the rules-based world order that has been coming up over all these 80 years through the UN. He does not recognize this. And now, the Rafah, I want to also add, this is through Egypt. The others is through Gaza, but this one is through Egypt, and human beings really can come and go. But there are apprehensions that some seriously injured people were taken out for treatment to other countries. And if they now want to come back, what will happen to them?
They do not have a place to come back to.
Yes, and even then the earth is there, but they may not be allowed because they don't have any papers for it. And if people now going out, these Gazans, some of them, how will they come in again if they cannot? So that would be another way of expulsion. So the UN or whatever it is, the Board of Peace is nothing. They should decide what will the modus operandi of the Gazans coming and
Right.
going. That is very important. That is what I would say.
A very nice observation by Mr. Ali Ahmed. There are more regarding how Israeli airstrikes have broken the ceasefire held with Lebanon on November 2024 or 2024. But much more on that after a short commercial break. Do stay with us.
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms. Sophisticated fine dining restaurant. Crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation. Modern gym and serene spa for well-being. Perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured. Elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. Elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents. Play pool and snooker in international standard billiard zone. World-class gym facility with exclusive equipment for man and woman. A restaurant of delicious local and international cuisine. Fully air-conditioned building with spacious banquet, car lift, sky view rooftop restaurant, all in one.
Welcoming back all our viewers to International Affairs. Of course, I was joined with Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. and Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio. I want to talk about very briefly regarding the friendship between European nations and, of course, world's leader, or as they claim, the United States of America. And I want to ask Mr. Ali Ahmed this question. It was a 100% tariff on China, and before that, regarding Greenland, it was a 10% tariff on anyone who is supportive of Greenland under being a territory under Denmark. And of course, these nations are NATO alliances. And if you really want to talk about the Article 5 that states any attack on a NATO territory is an attack on all the NATO territories. Attack on all. So I want to understand this last 26 days, the friendship between the two sides, especially that Donald Trump is trying or has tried his level best at acquiring Greenland. So I want to understand the friendship between the two sides.
It started with Greenland, the fracturing of NATO relations between the US on the one side and the European countries, and Turkey of course is now in the sidelines, willfully of course. So it is under extreme pressure. It started with Greenland very openly.
Right.
Finally, these major European countries came and sent their soldiers to Greenland as a token of their solidarity, and they said they will defend it. So that angered Donald Trump very much, and so immediately increased the tariff rate on Britain and others. And they violently reacted to this. Britain did not violently but steadfastly reacted to this. But then later, when the Afghanistan war came, the discussion, you know, Afghanistan was attacked by America,
right,
and the NATO countries, Britain, even this Denmark and all this, many of them, all of them, joined and sent their troops, and there was war, there are battles. And Donald Trump said that they have done nothing.
Right.
That also angered the Europeans very much, and Britain, its traditional good friend, special relations. British Prime Minister came up openly, he said a few things, and finally he said it's insulting.
Right.
And then Donald Trump perhaps was made aware by his people that he's going too far. And then he came. Of all the people who fought, the British soldiers were the best.
Right.
So he makes volte-face in so many ways. But this is a word, Donald Trump can change his words so frequently and in so many ways, but the relation between Europe under NATO and America under Donald Trump, I should not say America as such, because there might be and hopefully will be change after this president goes. So this is the condition. And about Donald Trump's position, he is now trying to, he is softening up to sort of have friendship with Britain and other European countries, but he is talking only about Europe. So that is also purposeful, or I don't know what it is. This is very unfortunate, and this also places all of us in a very, very bad situation. The rules-based order is gone, and now Donald Trump will, his own conscience, he says. Does he have a conscience? I am not sure. So whatever he says, whatever he does, goes for the international rule. So that would be what is called anarchy of the worst order. He has unleashed a reign of anarchy already. If he really takes control of Greenland and all those things, it will be a manifestation of the anarchy of the Middle Ages.
Of course, it's important because we've seen 1 year of rhetoric against Venezuela, and then we've heard the story about the alleged drug trafficking, and then when Nicolas Maduro is captured, now there is no story coming out, only for the fact that ExxonMobil and Chevron are taking the
and
oil.
another thing also very important and worth marking, they have a few millions of dollars, the sale proceeds of the oil after Donald Trump's occupation, sort of occupation, taking control. And that money has not been kept in the US, because he is not sure about what is coming to his fate in the US. So he sent this money to UAE, his closest friend. So money would be there. Even if Donald Trump is impeached and driven out, he will be taking money from his friends there, few millions of dollars. So these are very interesting times, also very serious times.
I must thank Mr. Ali Ahmed for his valuable contributions and insight into the worldwide issues, and of course being here on the program today. I must also thank Norman Flood Barnes, who continues to join us in this journalistic event almost on a daily basis from Washington DC. I must thank the production team, but before I finish, I want to give info on this day in history. On January 26 in 1973, the Paris Accord was signed, and of course it had ended the Vietnam War, America's longest war at that time, and of course it was
in which America was defeated.
In which America was defeated. I must thank once again with Mr. Ali Ahmed. Of course it was providing for an exchange for prisoners alongside the two sides. Ladies and gentlemen, that was it for today. I shall catch you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thank you.